Hello and welcome back to Ride Rescue, Appliance Rescue Edition. I did a video of this a few months ago. I had done some changes to make this ice machine work. It didn't, it failed like so many other things that I've done. This refrigerator was built in March of 2016. And the ice machine worked for about a year, a little over a year. Just out of warranty, it started freezing up. If you're like me, you got online and you started researching these Samsung refrigerators and these dumb ice makers, and they just freeze up. A lot of complaints, as I mentioned in my last video. There's a lot of people that have been getting onto a class action lawsuit. There's been people that have been talking to their local media, filing complaints. The people that get into the media get these things replaced. They just replace the whole refrigerator. Supposedly, Samsung has a fix for this now. And their new refrigerators have this fix built in. And if you scream and holler and rant and rave and you push a lot of buttons, you might get lucky and get yours replaced too. I was getting nowhere, and I decided I want to do a video of this and let's try it out. So I got online and I found me one. I found me the complete kit that replaces all the guts in this thing and has instructions that tells you how to do it correctly, and supposedly it works. I have found one other person online about 5 months ago or so. A service repairman came out and put all that in for him and certified that it would work through Samsung, and it works. So I'm going to walk through all of that is required to make this thing work and replace all the pieces that need to be replaced, and I'll show you I think what the key is to this whole fiasco and the fix that they've finally come up with. So what I did, I got online with Amazon and eBay, and I got searching and I looked at all different types of service providers and people that sell. This is a genuine Samsung kit. You can see somebody put eBay stickers all over it. I bought this from a dealer. This retails, I believe it was $150 retail. And from what I'm told, what you have to look for is not only the model number, the part number, but this date. Supposedly the fix started in October of 2019. So this one is November of 2019, and supposedly this has all the correct parts. But it does say, caution, if the seal has been broken, don't use it. This seal had been broken. This piece, this setup had been removed from the package. So I am taking a huge leap of faith that this motherboard isn't somebody's old motherboard. Did the dealer make this swap, make these changes? Because according to Samsung, the key is a new programmed motherboard and a new replacement Icemaker itself. And again, you gotta look for that date code because that's been redone. But the real key from what I'm reading is this. That is the heated water inlet, so that when the water comes in through this tube, it's kept warm so that it doesn't freeze up inside this tube. And supposedly they've made it longer and they made some other changes to it so it doesn't have that splashing effect when it goes in too quickly. Well, I'm going to keep mine turned down. I turned the water pressure down to my refrigerator, so I'm going to keep that turned down, and then I'm going to replace all these parts. You can see this got pretty beat up in transit, but like I said, I'm just really hopeful that that is the correct motherboard. I've searched and searched online and I cannot find this motherboard anywhere when it comes to that part number. So I just have to trust in this service provider that I bought this from. So here's all the instructions. It walks me through how it's all done. And I will walk through it with you just to show you my Icemaker. I have not touched this since my video. So it should be all locked up. And yes, it is. It is completely frozen up. Not even usable. So I'll show you how to defrost it. There's two ways. I'm going to do the quick way because I want to get to work, and then we'll tear all this out. And you can see inside my ice is all frozen and stuck together, so the auger just froze up. And when it comes to defrosting this unit, there's a few ways you can do it. So each one of the models has a little bit different panel out here, but I believe they're all the same. You hold down these two buttons, the middle one and the top one, for a little over 8 seconds. Now you hear the chime. Click your top button. I don't know what the FF is. OF, I don't know. FR, force defrost. It'll beep. It will beep like this for, I've heard anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. When I was defrosting my unit, that's what I would do. About every 6 weeks, I would force defrost the unit, thaw it all out, and it would start working again. Clean off all the ice, dump the tray, and it would work for about 6 weeks. Then I'd do this again. Mine beeps for about an hour. So I would do this when we were leaving the house. So that's one way you can do it. But it does literally take probably 2 hours for everything to loosen up so you can break all that ice off. I'm not waiting for 2 hours. I want to get to work. So we're going to turn that back off. So hold it down. Now we'll go back to a blank screen. It stops beeping. It's ready to start making ice. If it would have let it defrost long enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a steamer and I'm going to steam all that ice out of there. If you don't use a hairdryer or a hot gun, because you can distort and damage some of the plastic and you'll ruin the thing. When you're searching for this kit, one of the things that it mentions in a lot of the dealers that carry these parts is to have your serial number for your refrigerator and the date it was manufactured. This one was manufactured March of 2016. This kit is for this model number after October of 2016. So I was getting conflicting stories from the dealers when I purchased this set. One dealer told me, oh, it won't work with this refrigerator because of the model year. And another one told me that it would. The guys that I bought this from, they said they wouldn't recommend it because they don't have any documentation saying whether or not it works. But another facility that I talked to, they have means of putting in your serial number and your date of manufacture, and it'll tell you what kit to buy, and it says to buy this kit. So I got this kit for half price. So for whatever reason, this is an open box. Everything's been taken out. It's been put back in. The dates are correct on all of the pieces except on the motherboard. And there's no date codes. There's no model numbers. There's no serial number. There's nothing on this board to verify that it is the correct board. So that's where I'm just taking a leap of faith that this is correct. Since all the rest of the pieces have correct stamps on them, it only makes sense that this all goes together. I don't know why somebody would just steal the motherboard out of it, but we'll dig into it and find out. One note, if you've got a newer one and it's still under warranty, have them do it. You're going to void your warranty if you do this yourself, And why would you do it yourself if you can get the manufacturer to do it under warranty? All right, now before I start tearing into all this, I need to get the unit out away from the wall in this little cubby hole that it's in so I can unplug it. And then I'm going to start force defrosting this thing with a steamer, and we'll start taking it apart. Oh, one other thing. Make sure you got caulk. We need to seal that up. I've never sealed this one. I've thought about sealing it, but I wanted to try some other things first. But now that I'm replacing everything, I'm going to seal it all up. Well, sad for me, I cannot get my steamer to work. So I'm going to have to use a butter knife. Don't use a sharp knife, you just gouge things up. I'm not too concerned about gouging up this because I'm replacing it, but I don't want to break anything either. I don't think I have to clean it off really, really good because I am pulling the whole thing out. I'm going to start by taking out this side panel that covers up the wires. It's just one Phillips screw head. Once that screw's out of the way, you can slide that forward and this comes out. And you'll want to release this little clip and unplug the power supply. You'll want to chip away the ice if yours is like mine. There's a Phillips screw just inside. And then there's a little retainer on this edge. Mine is all frozen. And just pry this sideways a little bit and then it'll drop down. Mine is so frozen up, it's not wanting to drop down. It'll just gently work it down. There's a cooler coil inside of this that you want to be really careful because if you damage that, your refrigerator is ruined and you're done. You got to buy a new refrigerator. Inside there, that metal loop, that is the cooling coil that you need to be really careful not to damage. I'll press the little plastic locking mechanism, and that should slide forward. I'll make sure that cooling coil is out of the way, and slide that down, and it should come out. Depending on how much ice you got in there, if yours isn't all the way thawed out like mine is. And we're out. So as you can see, inside it is all completely locked up and frozen. Now with all that out of the way, you can see that freezer coil. In the back there is a foam block. In this kit comes a plastic sleeve that goes over that foam and a couple of little Y clips that snap onto this cooling bar. I will put those on once I get all this ice out of the way, and I want to get that auger slid out too, and then you can see in this tube, this is one of the tubes we'll be replacing. It's completely frozen up. It is full of ice. We'll get the rest of this thawed out and then we'll finish. Now we need to remove the power supply to the auger motor. And now the auger motor, it has a clip right there at the bottom. Then you lift up and slide that auger forward. I'm having a hard time getting that clip to stay up while I pull on it, so I'm just going to put a butter knife underneath that edge. And then I should be able to just slide this out through all the ice. Get my butter knife out of the way. I'll gently move this up. And then I can finish sliding this out. And you want to make sure to clear the walls so you don't damage the walls. And it's out. I'll need to dry all the inside of this out really, really good and then all around the back and this side will need to be sealed. Dry it all out first and let it finish thawing out, and I'll start putting all this back together. But first, while this is drying, I'll leave this door open. I'm going to pull the refrigerator out and exchange that motherboard. Make sure your refrigerator is unplugged, and then we'll remove this back panel. At this point, you're going to want to take a picture of this area before you start unplugging all of these components. Make sure they all get back in the same spot. Each one just has a little squeeze pin. Now, we should just raise up and tilt out. There's little clips on the bottom here. Make sure to release it. Now, I'm going to be really careful with my motherboard in case I need to put all this back. Should anyway, but if this wasn't a keeper, I wouldn't be worried about it. And try not to touch any of the pads on the back of your new panel. Don't want to short it out. I want to slide it up under all the wires. Slide it into the notches on the top. There we go. Didn't want to go all the way back. I'll just start installing all the clips. Make sure they snap in. And there's the problem. It's a 3-prong. There's only one wire plugged into it, but this one's a 4. Well, there's no reason for me to go any further. That just is not going to work. They lied to me. They said it would work, and it doesn't. Well, that was a major disappointment. Well, with that major disappointment out of the way, that's probably why this kit was an open box. They probably started installing the motherboard like I did and found out it was wrong and set it aside. Who knows? I'm just speculating, but this is the auger motor, and one of the things I'm noticing is there's no ice in the fan area. Some people were saying when they removed these were all iced up as well, so the fan wasn't turning and circulating the air. This one's not. Luckily, there's no ice in this top section. It is damp, so it has been getting water splashed up here, but it's not freezing up. So that's good to see. My area right next to this fan, let's see, would be on this side. This area is all frozen up. There was ice all jammed in here. So mine was getting close, but it wasn't actually getting all the way back inside of there. But there's an airway, an air passage right here. That air passage is where the fan is blowing air in this area to keep it dry so that it doesn't start getting humidity and dampness. Mine was blocked off. This whole area is completely plugged with ice. And when it goes through the defrost setup, when you do a forced defrost, there's no way for that to defrost in there. So I imagine after the first year, when it froze up the first time, this has been frozen ever since. So when I go through a forced defrost mode and clean all the ice out so that it can make ice, it only makes ice for a few weeks and then it all locks up again. It's because this air is not circulating. So hopefully the changes that I've made, that will allow this to open up. I think keeping it from splashing, turning your water pressure down will really help. I don't know that I need the motherboard. I'm hoping I don't need it once I get all this cleaned out, especially this passageway. It was hard, solid with ice, and I'll show you that inside of the machine before I put all this back together. So for now, let's go ahead and switch out the heat tube. I'll want to cut zip tie. There is a screw right here on the back side. And then on this area, the wires are tucked underneath this little bracket, and there is a keeper here. You squeeze, disconnect. And then you want to bring that wire around and off. You'll notice the new one has foil that goes up much higher on the tube, and it's hard to see, but inside of this tube it is completely opened up. I can barely get my little finger in the old tube, and I can get my index finger all the way down in this new tube. So that looks like that'll help keep that from freezing up. Plus the heating system goes up much higher on the piece too. Now we'll need to fish that wire back down in there. Okay, so this is done. Oh, nope, I'm not done. I need to put a new zip tie on, and they did provide that zip tie in the kit. There is a hole in the plastic below it. Trim off the excess. Now it's ready to go back in. So the last thing I need to do before I put everything all back in now is to get the silicone sealant. I need to run a bead of sealant all around that base. So I need to run the sealant all along this side and across the back. I won't be able to get you in there to show you what I'm doing, but I'll go ahead and get that done and show you when I'm finished. And I've got my sealant all around that bottom edge and all along the back. I've seen some guys put sealant all along this edge too. Some of the videos that I've been watching. I don't know if that's really necessary. That's not what Samsung says to do. They are specific about sealing up the inside of this though. So I'm going to just stick with that. But this area right in here is what I was talking about, where the fan actually goes up into this area and it circulates air out through this hole. This hole was completely plugged up with ice. So I've got that cleaned out now. And this piece, this plastic rectangular piece, is supposed to come off and replace it, and then there's little Y clips that go on here. I'm going to attempt that now. This is really on there. I'm not sure how to get it off. The new piece has two flanges, top and bottom. It's a little heavier. I want to make sure a flange is on the bottom. The old one only had a flange on the bottom. Like I say, this one has flanges on both ends. This little gripper edge in the back is what holds it in. So you want to make sure to slide that in first. Make sure it goes all the way to the back. Once that's all the way seated into the back, now we'll put on the Y clips. These little Y clips, what they do is the condensation runs down this cooling tube and then drips off the back. But if the Y clips aren't there, then it just drips and runs into this cooling passage, this air passage. So these Y clips are critical to get in place. You want to just snap them on and slide them all the way back, and then make sure that little piece is pointed downwards so that the moisture, as it comes back, it'll drip off of that. Now that is finished up, we'll slide the auger motor back in place. Until it locks in, and that little keeper on the bottom drops into place. And we'll reinstall wire harness and tuck it up out of the way. Now before we push this into place, you want to make sure these little rubber pieces are still there, that they're not missing. And you'll get the coil to come right up through the center here. And just gently slide that new one back in. Make sure the wire's out of the way. There is some horseshoes at the top. You need to make sure that is in place. And that locks in. And then we can slide that coil up into place. And this should lock. And then get that pushed all the way up right here and put in that screw. Now we'll reinstall power supply, making sure we have the locking mechanism on the correct side. Push it until it snaps into place. You want to tuck the wires in out of the way. Push the cover in and slide it back, and then reinstall the screw. Just double checking everything to make sure it's all in place. Now with the ice tray in, I can plug this refrigerator back in, and we'll wait and see if I have ice, and then we'll wait even longer and see if it's going to freeze up or if it's going to continue working. So as you can see, it's back on again. Everything's finished, everything's put back together. I'm going to go ahead and lean this back a little bit again like it was. It was leaned back a little. Some people online say that helps to keep the moisture flowing back, especially on that coil, now that I can see how that all works. My water pressure still seems a little bit high. I'm going to turn the pressure down just a little bit again. I've got my fingers crossed that I don't need that motherboard. So thank you for watching this episode. I will keep you updated as this thing starts making ice. I'll probably wait about 6 weeks and see if getting any condensation starting to build up. If not, great. I'll let you know and I'll keep an eye on it. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Hit that like button if you like what I'm doing. Please share, subscribe. It really helps me keep building my channel. Check out some of my other videos. I do a lot of car stuff, some garage stuff. Thanks again. Goodbye for now.